On April 30th, I was followed for approximately 3 blocks while I was out on my morning walk by a man that I was kind to and said hello. Fortunately, when I confronted him, he turned and left. While not physically harmed, later found out that he had been arrested for assault that very afternoon. A recent background check found that he had 57 criminal infractions, at least 3 of which were felony unlawful use of a weapon, and that he has been in Bangor since he assaulted the police officer in May of 2025. After finding this report, I studied another unhoused neighbor of ours, and he had 74 criminal counts of domestic abuse. What frustrates me is the imbalance of responsibility. When I make a report to the police department, I have to state my name, my address, and my birth date. Though when I called for 2 unhoused people that were camping between my property, my business property, and the neighboring property, the BCAT team came and they pushed them along without any question of what their what their status was, what their names were. All they did was they gave them a lunch pack of snacks and pushed them on their way. Now, do we really know who our neighbors are here? Do we know? I was shamed because I was giving the optic that I didn't like the campground that we had in front of the library. I was shamed that these people aren't going to hurt you, but we don't know who is sitting on our steps out in front of the library. We have no idea, just based on these 2 background checks. Now, we have ordinances that take care of these unlawful people, and we need to start using them. This city council cannot even help us from losing business. They can't even put a moratorium on the needle exchanges new to the city. Maybe we should have a taxpayer moratorium until you get this thing cleaned up.
Silence in the gallery, please. Next speaker to the podium.
Warn them, do not wear your Crocs because a Croc will allow a needle to get in your foot. And as we've heard 2 or 3 times ago, there is a fellow that was actually putting needles at the parks upside right, whether you believe they're there or not. And he's called the needle Nazi. And that was a homeless person who had shared that information with us. So if you're going to allow for this, I suggest you put some lovely signs at the parks that say, watch for needles, poor children. And how will that go over with our families and our taxpayers? Because I know I'm tired of paying for all of this stuff that you're giving away. It's time for change. Thank you.
Is compassion giving drug needles to drug addicts, telling the police not to arrest anyone who is homeless, doing drugs in the open, being naked in public, having sex in public? Is this compassion? Is compassion giving homeless a day center where they can all meet and do illegal things? Is compassion giving the homeless a sanctioned encampment where they can all meet and do illegal things? Just so you know, this is the beginning of a lawless society, and there is nothing good that will come from it. We do not really have a homeless issue. This is a propaganda word for those promoting encampments and tiny homes. Just so you know, we have individuals on the city council who may have conflicts of interest and benefit from nonprofits who benefit from an ever-increasing number of homeless. Just so you know, the more homeless and drug addicts there are, the more money some of these nonprofits receive. Nonprofits, Needle Point Sanctuary, Wabanaki Health, and the City of Bangor Public Health Departments are handing out up to 200 needles. Needles with no accountability, and the taxpayers are funding this. The question is, where are the homeless getting their money? The answer is welfare. Where are they spending their welfare money? On illegal drugs from drug dealers. Why are the police letting these illegal drug transactions take place and not dealing with the drug dealers? This is called the homeless industrial complex. Nonprofits are making lots of money, taxpayers are getting poor, and there are more homeless on the streets. HIV, 500% up. Hep C, the highest in the U.S. north of Virginia.
Are we the taxpayers funding drug paraphernalia and then the drug users spending the welfare check on the substances, drugs going into the syringes? This is why they are homeless, because all the money the drug users are spending is going into the drugs. Therefore, they have no money left for food and housing. Therefore, the taxpayer is footing the bill so that the drug user gets more drugs and continues to be homeless. Then the tiny home project, people plan on using more taxpayer money to give them a home so that they can all be centralized in one location so that more nonprofits can take advantage of them and the drug dealers all know where they can go to get more business. We have a drug problem, which is causing a homeless problem, and we have a tiny home project and plenty of nonprofits profits, taking advantage of those with addiction and mental health problems. They profit not from the addict recovering, but from bringing in more with addiction issues and continuing the addiction. We have a homeless industrial complex. The needle programs have not worked either. We don't need propaganda data provided by Needlepoint Sanctuary. Everyone with eyes that can see knows it's not working. The people promoting tiny homes and encampments are the ones who potentially financially benefit. Some of them are on the council. Some are on the planning board. Look at the planning board and look at the board of directors of Dignity First.
I'm waiting for the recovery team to get here, and I greet them. I say, "Hey, thanks for coming," right? And they said, we talk with this guy like every week, and we're always trying to get him help, but he never takes it. And for me, I thought to myself, well, how do we help him if he's not willing to get the help, right? And it's like a very difficult situation because he obviously has substance abuse problems. People come to help, he's not willing to take it, and I've had a close relationship with 2 different unhoused people, and it was the same thing. And it's very hard, right? And what do you do about that?
There is a problem. I don't support giving them out. I don't think that people are going to want to stay in the housing that you provide because they will have to follow rules and they won't be able to have their drugs. I think the two are counterproductive. So that's all I want to say. That there are actually needles out there and kids and people need to be careful.
The Opioid Settlement Fund Committee, the Racial Equity and Inclusion Committee, and the newly formed Homeless Committee. In each case, the same structural problems exist. Members are sitting on committees that directly influence funding and policy for the very organizations they work for, represent, and have direct conflicts with. The Opioid Settlement Committee, at least 3 members helped design the grant application and scoring system and then scored applications and made final recommendations. Their employers collectively received $147,000 in the first award round. A separate member voted to direct $550,000 to our city department without recusing herself. The city solicitor conducted the ethics briefing at the very first meeting. A formal complaint was filed, yet the process proceeded anyways. The Racial Equity Board, the committee chair testified before the Maine legislature using her committee title on the same policy issues she advises the city on, while operating a consulting firm that specializes in leadership, coaching, and development of nonprofits. She lists her committee role and school board seat as marketing credentials. The structural question is whether her city role generates business for her practice and whether her practice shapes what she advances to the council. The Homeless Committee. Only 2 of 9 members appear to have no obvious conflicts. The remaining 7 are professionally and organizationally embedded in the same ecosystem advising on itself. The same ecosystem with a financial stake in the ongoing homelessness and addiction problems should not be the people who will be advising on how to steer funds and develop future policies. It's basic conflict of interest. Under Bangor's Chapter 33 Code of Ethics and Maine Title 30-A, Section 2605, members with a financial or special interest must disclose to the city clerk and abstain from participation. Critically, any decision where a conflicted member participated without proper disclosure is voidable and can be legally challenged and overturned. I respectfully request that you direct the city clerk to confirm whether required disclosures were filed for all 3 committees and identify violations. Instruct the city solicitor to advise the Homeless Committee on recusal obligations before it issues any recommendations, and require future advisory boards in this funding ecosystem to include a majority of members with no professional or financial stake in the outcome. It is my hope that this council, the city solicitor, and the city manager will take corrective actions on behalf of the citizens of Bangor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.